My name is Paul Vallone. You are listening to 106.7 Wilmington's Big Talker. I'd like to welcome you to Guns, Politics, and Freedom, where each Sunday at 5 p.m., as part of the Sunday Night Political Power Block, we give you the ammunition to better defend your gun rights. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Hyatt Guns, America's largest gun shop. Check them out at hyattguns.com. In case you aren't familiar with me, I direct Grassroots North Carolina, or GRNC, since 1994, our state's most effective gun rights organization. As its director, I was involved in drafting and passing our original concealed handgun law. Since then, GRNC has gone on to engineer passage of concealed handgun reciprocity, our purchase permit bypass, castle doctrine and stand your ground, the expansion of concealed carry into state and municipal parks, restaurants, public assemblies, educational properties, and much more. Grassroots North Carolina is exactly what the name implies, a grassroots collection of volunteers from all walks of life who share a common concern that our constitutionally guaranteed freedoms are being eroded. Check us out at grnc.org. That's grnc.org. By now, you've spent most of a week being told that the horrors caused by a few violent sociopaths are all your fault. Never mind that the Dayton killer was not only an Elizabeth Warren fan, but an Antifa nutcase. Nope, according to the media, Trump is a white supremacist, and you are likely, at best, a white nationalist. But the truth is that the violence is now coming from the self-professed voice of tolerance, right up to and including Universal Studios' movie about the elites hunting deplorables like you and me in a movie they call The Hunt, but which reportedly was originally titled Red State versus Blue State. But that's just satire, right? It's all just good, clean fun. Yeah, more on that later in the show. Today our guest will be retired Army Ranger and defensive firearms instructor Kevin Dylas, owner of Blue Ridge Marksmanship near Asheville, who will discuss firearms training and dealing with active shooter scenarios. But first, I would like to relay a letter I just sent the members of my organization. On Saturday morning, before the bodies in El Paso were even cold, I got the following text message. Hi, Paul. It's Suzanne with Everytown/Moms Demand Action. Today, yet another community has been devastated by gun violence, this time in El Paso, Texas. As we mourn, we must also act. Volunteers in your area are organizing and fighting for gun reform. Are you ready to join them? Of course, I responded by texting back, quote, you guys don't waste much time exploiting tragedy, do you? But the sad reality is that last weekend was a twofer for gun ban advocates like Michael Bloomberg, and they are wasting little time exploiting it. Unlike those on the left, I have deliberately not responded beyond critical legislative alerts until the dead received appropriate respect and the basic facts were known. But I'm here to tell you that at both state and federal levels, our rights are under attack. And like 1994, when I helped found Grassroots North Carolina, whatever reasonable measures gun ban advocates get will only whet their appetites for more. State gun control is on the move. Here in North Carolina, our own little version of the Squad, namely Representatives Christy Clark of Mecklenburg, Marcia Maury of Durham, and Pricey Harrison of Guilford, are pushing discharge petitions to dislodge the previously dead HB 86 and HB 454 from committee. And what do the bills do? Well, HB 86 is the Ban Everything bill. It requires discretionary purchase permits for long guns as well as pistols, allowing sheriffs to decide you don't need to buy a rifle or shotgun. It imposes a 3-day waiting period on any gun purchase, creates a new class of so-called assault weapons, and forbids their sale to those under 21, bans all magazines holding 15 rounds or more, requires gun owners to carry liability insurance, and makes guns unavailable for self-defense by requiring they be locked up, and of course, much more. Meanwhile, HB 454 for gun confiscation orders allows even somebody you might have dated once to get a judge to declare you dangerous and get your guns confiscated. It allows all such orders to be issued in ex parte hearings, meaning you might not even know about the hearing, much less get a day to defend yourself in court. And of course, it allows such ex parte hearings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it allows gun confiscation orders to be extended indefinitely, and of course, much more. Meanwhile, federal gun control is much more likely than ever. President Donald Trump may be serious about supporting red flag gun confiscation, or it might be a feint. Only time will tell. But with Senator Lindsey Graham drafting a federal gun confiscation bill and our own Senator Thom Tillis promising to support it, it is becoming increasingly obvious that at least rhinos in the Republican Party are buying into gun control, making it much more likely something will pass. So what's wrong with red flag laws? Of course, nobody wants unstable people to have guns. So these red flag gun confiscation proposals being supported by even some Republicans seem reasonable, don't they? Well, as with all gun control, the devil is in the details. Key to the red flag laws are the ex parte hearings designed to deny you a day in court before getting your guns confiscated, neatly denying you due process of law under the Fifth Amendment before denying you your rights under the Second Amendment. Unconstitutional? Sure. But the unfortunate reality is that whatever they pass is constitutional until you prove otherwise. Moreover, you and I know denying guns to dangerous people doesn't stop them from committing homicide. Just 3 weeks ago in Japan, where guns are banned, a murderer killed 37 people by arson. Not long ago in France, which also has stringent gun control, a mass murderer killed 86 people using a rental truck. In truth, you are being scammed. If gun control advocates just wanted to stop mass homicides, they would push legislation to lock up potentially violent people rather than defaulting to a preordained political agenda to ban guns. If gun control advocates just wanted to stop mass homicides, they wouldn't work so hard to circumvent due process of law under the Fifth Amendment by denying people their civil rights without a day in court. If gun control advocates just wanted to stop mass homicides, they wouldn't lie by claiming that the U.S. leads the world in mass shootings, when in truth we are 58th behind countries like Finland and Norway. Check out the Crime Prevention Research Center for that, by the way. Just as they did with fraudulent campaigns to ban plastic guns, cop-killer bullets, and so-called assault weapons, gun ban advocates are exploiting your civility to dupe you into helping them incrementally end the private ownership of firearms. So first, we need you to contact the White House and both U.S. senators from North Carolina. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says gun control will be first on the agenda when Congress returns in September, so we need to act now. Trump has backed off from gun control in response to input from his base before, and we need him to do it again. So go to grnc.org, that's grnc.org, and at the top of the page you will see a big red stop sign that says Stop Federal Gun Control. Click on that and it will give you everything you need to defend your rights. Now, I thank you for all you have done so far. And I suspect you know what I'm about to say next. The fact is, Grassroots North Carolina does not have enough money to fight the upcoming battles. If you are one of the people who has generously contributed to GRNC or its sister entities, namely Rights Watch International and the GRNC Political Victory Fund, if you have contributed, I thank you. But in the coming weeks, we will likely need to conduct automated phone alerts, mailings, Facebook ads, millions of emails, and much more, all of which cost big bucks. So whether you have contributed or not, again, please go to grnc.org and help GRNC defeat federal and state gun control. This is going to be a tough battle. I can't guarantee victory, but I can guarantee that because GRNC is an all-volunteer organization, we will use your money more efficiently and effectively in defending your rights than any other organization. By the way, you may be saying, why bother? They're going to pass federal gun control anyway. But even if that were true, and I don't believe it is, the reality is that the easier it is to pass red flag gun confiscation or so-called universal background checks, the harder they will try to pass additional gun control, just like in 1994. I plan to make them fight and bleed for each inch of political ground gained or lost. So again, please go to grnc.org. That's grnc.org. Act now, folks, before it's too late, because the fact is we are in the gun control fight for our lives. We're going to take a short break, after which we will be back with Kevin Dylas of Blue Ridge Marksmanship and how you can deal with active shooter scenarios. Right now, you are listening to Guns, Politics, and Freedom on Wilmington's Big Talker, 106.7 WilmingtonBigTalker.com. We'll be back in just a moment with more information better enabling you to defend your gun rights. My name is Paul Vallone. You are listening to Guns, Politics, and Freedom on Wilmington's Big Talker, 106.7 WilmingtonBigTalker.com. Our show is sponsored by Hyatt Guns, America's largest gun shop. Check them out at HyattGuns.com. Our guest today is Kevin Dylas of Blue Ridge Marksmanship in Burnsville, North Carolina, north of Asheville and not too far from Mount Mitchell. Now, to be honest, I had never heard of Kevin's school until my wife discovered it. Now I've been through Thunder Ranch, Smith & Wesson Academy, Front Sight, and a number of other schools, including the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in New Mexico, so I was a little skeptical. But what I discovered at Blue Ridge Marksmanship was some of the best training I have ever had the privilege to receive. My wife and I have now taken 3 courses from Kevin: Close Quarters Combat, his AR-15 Operators course, and Pistol Speed Development, and we have been thoroughly impressed with each. Owner and chief instructor Kevin Dylas is a retired Army Ranger with 25 years of experience, including multiple overseas deployments, 30-plus years of firearms experience, and 27 years of instructor experience in pistol, rifle, and shotgun, and, most relevant to recent events, in active shooter training. As we will discuss later, Kevin is also a believer in and defender of the Second Amendment. Kevin, welcome to Guns, Politics, and Freedom.
Thank you very much, Paul. Glad to be here today.
So, what motivated you to start Blue Ridge Marksmanship, and what are you looking to do with it?
Well, the motivation, Paul, came, long story wicked short. One of my buddies had kind of prodded me. I was doing some contract work once I retired from the military, and it was kind of hit and miss, and the guy we were working for didn't set up the training with that far lead time, and one of my buddies had said, "Hey, why don't you do it?" And being retired from the military, you know, we'd run training, coordinated for training, and said, "Hey, I can do this." And also, instructing is honestly a passion. I enjoy what I do. And thank you very much for talking about you and your wife's experience. I hope it shows through. I enjoy what I do, and showing people how to and safely use their firearm for whatever capacity, be it competition shooting, speed shooting, or defensive applications. I enjoy it. Where do we hope to go with it? Hope to grow the business to a level in which we can get kind of some national, if you would, national recognition and just make a difference. We work a lot with law enforcement agencies, and those guys are the most underserved in the gun world, in my opinion, meaning they're not afforded good training, relevant training, as I think, my opinion, that the officers should be afforded. And I'd love to work with some of the law enforcement agencies around the state and especially the Southeast. That's where I'd hope to go with it.
Awesome. And by the way, the fact that you enjoy it is very apparent in your courses. One of the things I experienced at Blue Ridge Marksmanship was a better level of customer service than probably any other school I have been to. You're obviously very attuned to the needs of your students, and that was very much appreciated, especially for an old guy like me. Now, Now, Kevin, I guess this has become a national disgrace, but now violent sociopaths feel free to open fire in crowds of typically disarmed citizens, usually in areas where firearms are ostensibly prohibited. Now, with the spread of concealed handgun laws, which, by the way, Grassroots North Carolina, the organization I direct, drafted for North Carolina back in 1995, lots of people have gotten concealed handgun permits for self-protection. In fact, it's roughly 600,000 people in North Carolina alone. Now, how prepared do you think most of these people are to protect themselves and their families, particularly in active shooter situations?
To be very blunt, and I'm not Buddha, and I don't think that if you've never been military, you've never been law enforcement, that you'd be inept to protect yourself. But the average person, and I'm basing this off of 4 years of working with armed citizens and 2A supporters around the country, the average person is not that well prepared because they lack the training. And by the training, we're talking the full Monty, Paul, getting the mindset. How do I approach a situation? What do I do if I find myself in a situation? Are you trained with your firearm? To me, Paul, one of the most scary places, in my opinion, that I go every week is church, because there's some guys there I know that have firearms, and judging by the way they move, the way they act, and this is just a total guess, they've not received training. And I think that if something was to happen in that environment where there's a lot of people in a confined space, their tunnel vision, they're just going to start shooting at the guy with the gun and not worried about their backstop, what's in the foreground, what's coming in and out of their peripheral. So, judging by the experience, I've worked with hundreds of armed citizens, and I've worked with oodles and oodles, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of just under 1,000 law enforcement officers. And
wow.
When you start talking about some of these things, and just be it water cooler talk or in a class, Paul, the people just don't grasp, we need to worry about that. What's a through and through? And when a bullet has the ability to puncture through the thoracic or an appendage of a human body and then go ahead and hit somebody else. In training, Paul, we often talk about, hey, look, if you're defending yourself or your family against a bad individual, and you had to use your gun, there was no option, then that's one thing. But if you got to use your gun to protect your family, and you shoot or burn down my kid in the process, then what was the gain there? Mm-hmm. So we deal a lot with the cognitive approach to training, Paul, and getting the folks to understand how to mentally approach those situations and kind of have a plan. Because a lot of people, Paul, when it comes to fight, flight, and freeze, why does a person freeze? It's for one of two reasons: too much information or lack of information. Mm-hmm. And that's what the training, to sum everything up, that's what the training provides. Now you've got options. And to be very honest, in the training, we talk about, regardless of what level of how to approach situations and some things that you can do to keep yourself and your family and loved ones out of harm's way. So that's what I think the training is that people need. They don't, and hey, look, they don't need to go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but go attend a course and get your eyes open and see what you know. Find out what you don't know.
Okay, and that by course, we should note that does not mean just a basic concealed handgun class. The basic concealed handgun class.
No, absolutely. And to be blunt yet again, the North Carolina Concealed Carry Handgun course is a great course, 8.5 hours in length, great course. It's not a handgun course. You've got to cover, I believe it's 8 topics, and shooting is only one of them. the laws, the maintenance, the how do I transport a handgun. These are all the things you got to cover, and that's a fact right there. A lot of people go to that course and, oh, well, I'm trained. Excuse me, and it's like, no, you're not. I wish that we could go down the rabbit hole, because I'm one of the instructors at Blue Ridge Marksmanship for that course, and it's like I'd love to go down that rabbit hole with you further, but we can't because of time constraints. And so, people to go out there and go get a defensive pistol course, a 1-day, a 2-day, get a course in understanding of that mindset, which is covered by good instructors. And to plug Blue Ridge Marksmanship, we discuss that in every course, some form, shape, or fashion, because we want to anchor things to life, to reality.
And specifically, if I were a concealed handgun permit holder looking for additional training, what class or what course would I look for from Blue Ridge Marksmanship?
The first and foremost one I would recommend is the defensive pistol course. It's a 2-day course, and it is geared to get people in tune with drawing their firearm and how to shoot in different scenarios and be safe with their firearm.
Okay. All right. So that's the basic. So that would be basic handgun training, and we're going to have to wrap up here in a few seconds. But I think when we come back, let's talk a little bit about additional training, perhaps with a rifle, since AR-15s are now very popular defensive weapons, perhaps with a shotgun, and we'll talk about a few other of the available options, I guess is the way I want to put it. Mm-hmm. Right now, folks, you are listening to Guns, Politics, and Freedom on Wilmington's Big Talker, 106.7, WilmingtonBigTalker.com. We're going to take a short break, after which we will return with still more critical information enabling you to better defend your gun rights. My name is Paul Vallone. You are listening to Guns, Politics, and Freedom today on Wilmington's Big Talker, 106.7, WilmingtonBigTalker.com. Our show is sponsored by Hyatt Guns, America's largest gun shop. Check them out at HyattGuns.com. Our guest today is Kevin Dylas of Blue Ridge Marksmanship in Burnsville, North Carolina. His school runs extensive training on defensive firearms use in handgun, rifle, and shotgun, relying on his 25 years of experience as an Army Ranger and his extensive firearms instruction experience. Welcome back, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Paul.
All right, we were talking about training and how many people feel that they are adequately trained after they take a concealed handgun course, but in fact need quite a bit of additional training to prepare for something, for example, as complex as an active shooter scenario. We've talked a little bit about handgun training, and you recommended, say again the name of the course that your school offers.
Defensive pistol course, Paul. We go over everything about the handgun, and then also the situations within the home and or the community. We talk about how to protect yourself and your family in the event of some tragic attack or a dynamic critical incident.
The AR-15 is a very popular platform now. Many people are using them for home defense. And I suspect I know the answer because I took this course, but I'll let you say it. What would be the basic course that I would expect to have at Blue Ridge to learn the defensive use of, say, an AR-15 or a rifle?
Hands down, the AR-15 operators course, we cover soup to nuts, how to zero the gun into what do you want on the gun, your lights, your optics, your sights, everything. We cover all of that, plus we fire approximately 700 rounds in 2 days, and every round counts. We don't just waste the ammunition. We fire those rounds teaching you how to do multiple target engagements, shooting on the move, multiple applications with that firearm, plus clearing the malfunctions. And a lot of gear selection that goes into it. So that would be the number one course. And regardless, military people have even came to that course and went, holy cow, we learned a ton just because of the depth that course covers in 16 hours.
Yeah, I remember all too well the malfunction drills. I had not done those for far too long, and it clearly showed. So, anyways, and Of course, Joe Biden says we don't need an AR-15. Every woman should have a shotgun, right? So, shotgun defense, not necessarily the ideal tool for everybody, but if somebody wants to use a shotgun for defensive purposes, what course would you suggest in that particular case?
We have a 2-day urban shotgun or defensive shotgun. Based on which one's running, they're very similar. The urban shotgun has got more focus on the home environment and protecting yourself, and the other one is more of a general purpose. Hey, maybe I'm out and about in the yard. Because some people in my neck of the woods, which is close to your neck of the woods, they've got shotguns kind of stashed, and if I got to grab it to shoot something, what's a good way to do that? How do I select my ammunition? How do I set my shotgun up? And basically, what kind of ammunition should I run in my shotgun? So
that's going to be one of my next courses from you, by the way. Well, not the very next one. I want that vehicle defense course next. But anyways, what are some of the common mistakes you've seen with people who get firearms for self-defense?
Common mistakes is lack of training and not just trying to plug the business. They buy a gun, they go out and they shoot it 10 times, and they figure I'm good with it. And what happens if the gun malfunctions? I've got kids, and either one of my children, they can shoot rifle, pistol, shotgun all day long, and if it malfunctions or runs out of ammunition, it's the same response. They hand it back to me.
Well, that's what you're there for, right?
Right, 100%. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be there for the masses. And if you're on the street or in your home or in your vehicle, wherever, and you experience a malfunction and your gun running out of ammunition is a you problem. That's a malfunction. Mm-hmm. So, how do I fix that? How do I do it efficiently? And so these are the things that a lot of people just aren't familiar with. And this, again, is self-evident in the courses we teach, because their gun will be a pistol, for example, will be at slide lock out of ammunition, and they're trying to squeeze around into the gun. They're trying to miracle it one more in there. And I'm like, you drop the magazine, put another magazine in there. And so,
hey, I did bullseye shooting for years. Can't I just raise my arm and call for an alibi?
Yeah, that's sobering when you tell somebody that there's no timeouts in a gunfight. That's only in, if you remember the movie with Walter Matthau and Robin Williams called Survivors. That's the only time I've ever seen a gunfight where they call the timeout. So, but that's a big faux pas. And the next one is ammunition, and this will cross all three platforms: pistol, rifle, and shotgun. They've got the wrong ammunition. Okay. They go to the store, they see self-defense ammunition, Paul, and it's $25 a box. Well, I don't want to spend that. $11 for a box of 50. That looks better. And they're buying the wrong ammunition. Shotgun, I hear people, well, I'm going to do a buckshot slug mix in my gun. I can kill everything on the planet then. And it's like, okay, but so if you shoot 2 or 3 rounds, what do you have in your chamber currently? And what if your wife's behind the guy? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You might want something a little more surgical than buckshot at across the front of your house, etc. Mm-hmm. And then rifle, AR-15, guys think green tip, the Army green tip, 62 grain full metal jacket over a steel core is a good idea for self-defense ammo. That'll burn through multiple walls in your house before that thing stops. Mm-hmm. So it's like get the right ammunition. People say, hey, box of tap for AR-15, that's like $25 also. I'm like, your life worth that?
An excellent question, yeah. And so, all right, ammunition selection. Now, one of the things I noticed back in my concealed handgun instructor days is that people would not necessarily bring the right firearm either. I had one woman who apparently her boyfriend insisted she bring a 1911. I think she perhaps weighed 85 pounds. I could be wrong. What would you suggest in terms of firearm selection, particularly for concealed handgun permit holders?
So the rule for me, and I'll tell anybody this on the planet, to buy the biggest handgun that you can comfortably carry and fit your application. To further dive down the rabbit hole for a 30-second spot there, if I'm a 110-pound woman, then I don't need to be carrying a 1911 single stack with 8 magazines in my back pocket. The whole world's going to know what I'm up to. And I don't like when I play chess. I'm not going to tell you my next move. So get the biggest gun that fits your application. I'm a big guy. I'm 230. I run a full-size handgun. I can appendix carry it and hide it and get away with it. On that note, a lot of guys want to give their female, be it their wife, girlfriend, etc., their mom, they give them this cute little small gun, and it's always a .380.
Oh, a little gun. A little gun's easy to shoot, right?
Yeah, no, it's counterintuitive. 90% of the things, my opinion, in the handgun world are actually counterintuitive. Small gun, no kick, right? Wrong. So it's hard to manipulate, and that's that faux pas I see. So in the minute I show a female, and normally it is a female, occasionally it is a man, that, hey, here's the advantage of a slightly larger gun, they're like, oh my God, I love that so much better.
Much easier to manipulate. Listen, before I let you escape, I want to let people know that Blue Ridge Marksmanship is a defender of the Second Amendment. Now, that means our political action committee, the GRNC Political Victory Fund, is a federally registered political action committee dedicated to electing pro-gun candidates to public office. Now, GRNC PVF is holding another one of our politically incorrect raffles to raise money for election action, which I'm sure you agree is critical at this time because the Second Amendment is under attack from leftists everywhere. Now, our first prize is a Ruger AR-556 pistol with a manufacturer's suggested retail of $949 with all the latest accessories, including an M-LOK forend and a collapsible SBA-3 stabilizing brace. I should note that AR pistols and stabilizing braces are currently under attack and may become unavailable. So I'm happy to say that Kevin has donated his 2-day AR-15 operators course, a $400 value, to help us sweeten the pot on this raffle. And we are now raffling off one of his donated courses. Thank you very much, Kevin, for supporting the Second Amendment.
Absolutely. It's a privilege to be able to do that, and look forward to training whoever wins that awesome rifle.
So anybody who wants one of these tickets can go to grnc.org. That's grnc.org, and it'll be right on the homepage. Kevin, once again, I thank you. Folks, remember, Grassroots North Carolina encourages you to buy from merchants who support your rights. Thanks again, Kevin. To inquire about training at Blue Ridge Marksmanship, go to blueridgemarksmanship.com. Again, that's blueridgemarksmanship.com. You're listening to Guns, Politics, and Freedom, and we're going to take a short break, after which we will return with more information enabling you to better defend your gun rights. My name is Paul Vlone. You are listening to Guns, Politics, and Freedom today on Wilmington's Big Talker. Our show is sponsored by Hyatt Guns, America's largest gun shop. Check them out at hyattguns.com. You may have heard about The Hunt, the Universal Pictures dystopian movie featuring elites who quite literally hunt deplorables, that would be you and me, for sport. Yes, I know that under conservative pressure, Universal eventually, reluctantly and without apology, pulled the movie from release. All the while saying there was actually nothing wrong with it, mind you. It was just, after all, just a spoof. They say just a bit of fun. But as we often do on this show, I want to talk about the broader implications of Hollywood feeling quite comfy with a movie in which the cream of society decides to slaughter those who beg to differ. You see, one of the memes being foisted by even a conservative media is that our increasingly polarized political environment, in that environment, both sides are to blame for inflammatory rhetoric, and that the resulting increase in violence is a result of inflammation from both sides, since, after all, aren't we just all followers of the racist-in-chief? Well, to quote Hertz, not exactly. Things in America started to go off the tracks in the 1950s as those aligned with the Communist Party began the Ugly American tradition, which I name after the trend-setting 1958 political novel, depicting the failure of American international diplomacy and blaming us as imperialists for the world's failures. And so from the late 1950s until the 1970s, American intelligentsia adopted what UN Ambassador Jeane Kirkpatrick dubbed the Blame America First paradigm. By many accounts, the anti-America movement of the 1960s was largely supported by the Soviets. Indeed, Russian GRU defector Stanislav Lunev said in his autobiography that, and I quote, "the GRU and the KGB helped to fund just about every anti-war movement and organization in America and abroad." And that led to a gradual slide in the left in the 1960s and 70s, during which even Republicans like Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford lurched leftward. But after the self-loathing of America in the 1970s under Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan began turning things around, and America became America again, casting aside leftism, rebuilding our economy, and America's power abroad. But that's when the left denied what they presumed to be their legitimate ascendancy. Their seemingly inevitable socialist takeover of American society, they became increasingly strident. The election of Bill Clinton led once again to the ascendancy of the left as the Green Movement and class warfare became increasingly entrenched in American society. But thanks largely to the left's attempt to disarm Americans in the early 1990s with the Brady Act and the so-called assault weapon ban, the left was again denied ascendancy by the 1994 Republican Revolution. And although Clinton remained in office until 2000, he was largely forced to the center by a Republican Congress. It was during the 2000 elections, in which Al Gore lost, again largely due to support for gun control, that the left truly became unglued. And so the amplitude of the political swings back and forth began to increase. And the left, which had previously been just a bunch of harmless loonies, started to get violent. In the 1990s, one of my officers at GRNC used to half-joke that I should watch out, that the left would try to kill me. I scoffed at the idea of snowflakes trying to kill a gun rights activist. But today, with Antifa beating conservatives and journalists and trying to blow up ICE detention centers, I'm no longer laughing. Held at bay by a Republican president and until 2006, a Republican Congress, the loony left as we know them finally rose to power again in 2008 under their demagogue Barack Obama. And under the Obama administration, the weeds of the hard left began to bloom. It has always been a standard of the left that when they lacked cogent arguments, they would sling names. But in the early 2000s, they truly cemented the phrase racist and made sure that absolutely no actual evidence of racism was required to sling it at anybody who had the audacity to disagree with what became an openly socialist agenda. Resentment against those who succeed in life had always been a tenet of the left, but it was under the Obama administration, encouraged by Obama's "you didn't build that," that the Occupy movement began to foist on us the notion that we were being subjugated by the 1%, the relatively affluent Americans who build businesses and create jobs. Destruction of the fossil fuel industry had been a goal of the leftists for decades, but it was only after being fostered by the institutional leftism of the Obama years that the now openly socialist demagogues like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could propose with utter seriousness the complete destruction of the American economy through utopian pipe dreams like the Green New Deal. And for decades it had been a goal of the left to increase illegal immigration, to increase Democrat voters, and ensure their death grip on power for the foreseeable future. Hell, ask B1 Bob Dornan, the staunch and rare California conservative who lost his congressional seat after the Clinton administration suspended criminal background checks to naturalize and register enough aliens in his district in time to defeat him. But it was only after 2016 that even proposing to secure the southern border of the United States made you a racist. But it was the final ingredient of a no-nonsense non-politician like Donald Trump who called a spade, and since, by the way, I will undoubtedly be called racist for using that phrase, understand that according to National Public Radio, it entered English usage with Nicholas Udall's translation of Erasmus in 1542. Famous authors have used it, including Charles Dickens. According to NPR, the spade in the Erasmus translation refers to a gardening tool. Nonetheless, it has been co-opted by the left to brand anyone who dares use it as racist. But I digress. Trump was the final ingredient in a Molotov cocktail being thrown today at American society. It was by engineering the election of Donald Trump, your support of him, that made you become, in Hillary Clinton's infamous words, the deplorables. Your refusal to be cowed, your revolt against the leftist tide by electing Donald Trump, that is what, in the eyes of the left, made you truly deplorable. And that is what they use to rationalize the harassment directed against you. That is what the leftists use to justify getting in your face, as Congresswoman Maxine Waters and even Barack Obama have so famously counseled, and what Sarah Palin, Ted Cruz, and most recently Mitch McConnell have experienced, and what Congressman Joaquin Castro used to rationalize doxing Trump contributors in his district just recently. It's what's being used to censor you, from violence directed at conservative speakers on campus to boycotting corporations that have the audacity to sponsor conservative events, for removing factual tweets and YouTube videos from people like researcher John Lott or conservative politicians like Mitch McConnell. In fact, as a perfect example, I just tried to Google the words left-wing censorship. You know what I got? Articles about why left-wing censorship doesn't exist. I'm sure it's just an algorithm problem. It's what's used to rationalize threats against conservatives, like Madonna's thinking an awful lot about blowing up the White House, or De Niro threatening to punch out Donald Trump. But most importantly, it's the rationalization used for violence against you. What leftists use to rationalize beating up anybody wearing a MAGA hat. What a Bernie Trump supporter used to rationalize shooting Republicans such as House Majority Leader Steve Scalise. What Antifa uses to beat conservative reporters and try to blow up facilities for immigration and customs enforcement, because after all, they have committed the crime of securing our borders. And yes, it is the rationalization used to promote violence against you, a la the hunt. I'm quite certain some leftists will claim I'm a conspiracy nut and liken me to Alex Jones, but in truth, I don't do conspiracy. For starters, I doubt that many leftists could avoid running their little collective mouths, but history is full of useful idiots. Well-intentioned fools inadvertently doing the bidding of manipulators whose intentions are anything but good. And that could describe any number of self-professed progressives who fail to grasp that they are doing the bidding of the power-hungry. As one of GRNC's founding board members once said about conspiracy, quote, "You don't have to be a member of the choir to sing from the same piece of sheet music." But beyond the implications of declaring open season on conservatives, the hunt also reveals the profound and all-encompassing stupidity of the American left. Somehow it has eluded them. In fact, they seem blithely ignorant of the fact that we deplorables they have been denouncing as white supremacists, threatening, harassing, beating up, and now proposing to hunt like animals. Through it all, the left has yet to figure out that the people they are threatening, we're the ones who own most of the guns. Or perhaps they do know that, since, after all, it is you and me they are trying to disarm. My name is Paul Vallone. You've been listening to Guns, Politics, and Freedom on Wilmington's Big Talker, where each Sunday at 5 p.m. as part of the Sunday Night Political Power Block, we give you the ammunition to better defend your gun rights. Please check out our sponsor, Hyatt Guns, America's largest gun shop, at HyattGuns.com. Check out my website at gunspoliticsandfreedom.com. See you next Sunday at 5.